Hello everybody, I'm Kevin Wynn and this is Rewind, the show that looks back on Florida's past through historic film and video. This time, summertime in South Florida means hurricane season.
Donna spread her ruin and wreckage along a path from Puerto Rico through the Florida Keys, and she actually passed 70 miles north of San Juan into the Florida Straits. She brushed the north coast of Cuba before beginning a slow curve that slapped at Key West, then moved up the Keys, passing between Tavernier and Marathon. Her eye passing north of Marathon about 2 a.m. September 10th. Donna pushed a 13-foot storm tide across the overseas highway. She ravaged citrus groves and farmlands, chewed up houses and fishing boats.
In 1960, Hurricane Donna slammed into the Florida Keys. The Category 4 storm swamped the Middle Keys before arcing north toward Florida's west coast. About a year later, Miami TV station WCKT-7 aired Do You Remember Donna?, a look back at the storm that also looked forward to see how lessons learned from Donna would be applied in hurricane country. Do You Remember Donna features compelling storm coverage by WCKT News, dressed up with unusual video effects. Enjoy the show.
Good evening. I'm Wayne Ferris. Here in South Florida, we divide our seasons into 4 parts: tourist, summer, football, and hurricane. It's with the latter that for the present we're most concerned. Hurricane Carla, the century's biggest storm, flirted with us on the anniversary of another powerful hurricane. Do you remember Donna?
This is Jack Leverins. I remember Donna. I saw her first before she hit Miami from the center of her eye. I got the inside story, and it was an eerie one, witnessing nature's power of destruction from the safety of an airplane. It's like being removed from reality. I was one of 2 WCKT's men to fly into Donna's eye, the only Miami station newsmen to do so. In all, I made 7 passes through the eyes at levels of 14 to 18,000 feet aboard a Miami-based Weather Bureau flying laboratory. Gone are the days of flying into hurricanes at 300 feet. It's not only too dangerous, but unnecessary from the standpoint of information. On this flight, we swung into Donna's north side with her winds of 133 miles an hour. But the flight was not as rough or dramatic as you might expect. The plane was not tossed about like a toy, nor was the crew fearfully reading insurance policies. They were too busy checking special electronic equipment that probes the hurricane's life-giving components. With such information, meteorologists mathematically can recreate a hurricane. Our flying research laboratory melt. Only in the eye could we see the gigantic ocean of white foam below. If nothing else, I gained a healthy respect for the plane's crews and researchers who fly the storm's Milky Way. This is Jack Leverins, WCKT News.
Hurricane Donna was the first major storm to affect Florida since the Miami storm of October 1950. In 10 years, a new and large group of the uninitiated either grew up or moved into Florida. They were to learn about hurricanes the hard way. Donna, in her stormy spawning stage, was detected off Dakar. As a full-grown hurricane, she whirled 5,000 miles before blowing herself out over the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Donna spread her ruin and wreckage along a path from Puerto Rico through the Florida Keys, and she actually passed 70 miles north of San Juan into the Florida Straits. She brushed the north coast of Cuba before beginning a slow curve that slapped at Key West, then moved up the Keys, passing between Tavernier and Marathon. Her eye passing north of Marathon about 2 a.m. September 10th. Donna pushed a 13-foot storm tide across the overseas highway. She ravaged citrus groves and farmlands, chewed up houses and fishing boats. Donna sustained winds of 140 miles an hour, with gusts clocked at 180 to 200 miles an hour in some parts of the Keys. But while the U.S. Weather Bureau branded Donna one of the most vicious hurricanes ever to hit the U.S. mainland, she did not repeat the fearsome toll taken in 1928 and again in 1935. The Keys in South Florida suffered more than 2,200 fatalities in both storm years. The big question a year ago was whether ignorance and skepticism on the part of the state's newcomers make them vulnerable to a dangerous hurricane in spite of modern storm warning facilities. The answer? Only 13 Floridians were claimed by Donna's winds, but thousands were uprooted.
This is Dave Choate in the Keys, and I'll always remember Donna and the destruction she left behind. She bore into the Keys that fitful night of September 9th with all the wrath and fury that she could muster. At one point in Marathon, her winds were unofficially recorded at 180 miles an hour. She battered everything she touched, and she seemed to touch everything. Donna threw a KO punch, and the lights went out. Communication between the Keys and the rest of the world was gone. So were the bridges between Marathon and Key Largo. The fresh water supply was gone, but so eventually was Donna. And then came the massive job of cleaning up. As dawn broke, those who had stayed through the ordeal emerged from their shelters. Among them were WCKT newsmen Charlie Mitchell and Lloyd Russell. They were the first to get films out of the Keys showing the destruction. Mitchell was the first to phone Miami with an eyewitness report of the damage. But the phone reports, the reams of news copy written on Donna, and the thousands of feet of news film shot on her somehow couldn't capture the true and utter destruction that was Donna. The magnitude of it was too great for even the camera. I flew into the area the day following Donna's departure and saw houses right in the middle of the overseas highway, sharing the unfamiliar surroundings with large fishing boats. Power and telephone lines looked like so many strands of spaghetti. Trailers were smashed, some lost, not even found to this day. But despite vast damage, only a handful died, and only one thing saved the rest: advanced warning and preparation. But many who stayed for Donna will not stay for the next one. This is Dave Choate, WCKT News, The Keys.
Leaving the Keys, Donna churned through the swamplands to Everglades City near the Gulf of Mexico. She then moved over water before crashing into the coastline again south of Naples on a course that took her into Fort Myers. Both Naples and Fort Myers suffered extensive storm tide damage. The water levels at Flamingo and Everglades were recorded at 12 feet above mean sea level. But as Hurricane Donna spun toward the west coast, she was leaving behind permanent damage to Everglades wildlife. At Duck Rock, 15 miles outside of Everglades City, Donna destroyed 90% of the trees that made up one of the largest ibis rookeries in the Western Hemisphere. The storm also killed 40% of the great white herons. Most of Donna's destruction in the glades was in the swamps, where high winds whipped up water and mud, releasing sulfurous gases which were trapped in the heavy foliage. In some areas, every living tree and blade of grass was gassed to death.
The storm's next target was Fort Myers. This is Joe Browder. I remember Donna, and so do the people of this West Coast community. Immediately following the storm, a WCKT chartered plane was dispatched to the Fort Myers-Naples area to join Channel 7 correspondents who covered Donna as she churned through West Florida. These films were seen on NBC in a special report from WCKT's studios the same day they were recorded. Fort Myers housing developments were flattened. Debris was strewn in all directions. Fort Myers, during the height of the storm, clocked wind gusts at 121 miles an hour. At Naples, the weather station was abandoned as 4 feet of water swept in. Peak gusts in Naples reached 150 miles an hour, and winds teemed with high water to play havoc with housing. Destruction in this area was estimated at several $1 million. Scores were injured. There were several deaths. The Fort Myers airport looked like it had been bombed. Lee County's Civil Defense Director confesses many mistakes were made, but he says next time, hurricane or air raid, the Fort Myers-Naples area will be prepared. This is Joe Browder, WCKT News, Fort Myers. Donna, professor without portfolio, went on teaching Florida the elementary lesson
Build not thy house on sand, and cheat not on the construction. In over 75% of the state, the home buyer is at the mercy of the builder. Building codes as protection are as effective as tissue paper raincoats. Laws are being written in some areas to strengthen existing building codes, and Dade is the model. Most attention is being paid to roofing, improved tie-downs, and more nails. But most interesting was the inescapable observation that only those who lost their roofs to Donna were able to collect 100% insurance. The Florida Association of Architects suggests that beachfront property be disposable, designed to be lost in a major blow, but easily reconstructed. Miami architect Ed Grafton points out that this may well apply even to homes built under the Dade Code.
Although the Dade County Building Code is one of the best building codes in the United States, it does not provide the ultimate in design criteria for protection against hurricanes, nor does it provide the supervision which is necessary to get buildings designed which will stand up during our hurricanes. This is the responsibility of the owner of the building. The owner must see to it that the building is designed properly to withstand hurricane winds, be designed in such a way to be above flood waters, and have provided for his own protection certain accessory elements to that building to provide adequate protection against hurricanes.
As Donna performed in an arc around Miami, her skirts flapped hurricane and gale force winds and rain at Dade and Broward for 24 hours. While we missed the brunt of Donna, her winds affected the metropolitan Miami area longer than any other Florida community.
This is Max Moore. Yes, I remember Donna. I remember the morning of anxiety as the storm raged offshore, the afternoon of waiting, certain that Donna would strike the Gold Coast, the slow building of the wind, the pelting of the rain, and the long night of watching, reporting, following the storm as she roared in from the sea across Dade and Broward counties. The eye of Donna was 71 miles south and west of Miami, yet 8 inches of rain fell on Miami streets, and winds were clocked up to 97 miles per hour. Trees shed branches as they knew plants in Miami since Donna struck. Donna was also a blessing in disguise to the small businessmen. Insurance funds and small business loans helped many to modernize and expand where they couldn't have done it before. Like a grassland swept by fire, where new shoots of green popped through the soil with the first rain, out of Donna's debris, new growth appeared, and with it, new prosperity. And the businessmen sighed with relief and said Miami was lucky to have come through the storm so well. It wasn't all luck. Planning and hard-won experience had simply paid big dividends. These splendid peacocks in Crandon Park lost a few of their beautiful tail feathers to Donna, but they soon sprouted new and better ones. Miami, too, ignored her tattered splendor and went to work. Another tourist season was on the way. When its families stayed on, said they'd sit out the storm at home. One of these was businessman Jack Russell.
Out of the 1,000 homes here on Key Biscayne, there was approximately 25 families stayed during Donna. The authorities had suggested that we evacuate, but it was my decision that it was safe out here, and since one of us had to be wrong, I'm glad it was the authorities. During the hurricane, the water at its highest point barely reached as high as the cap of the seawall. No water got up on the grass out here at all. In fact, there was no water damage to any of the homes, only some wind damage, and that was minor to screens primarily and a few shrubs.
The Civil Defense Organization under Sheriff Tom Kelly is empowered only to advise citizens prior to a hurricane. Kelly cannot force anyone to take precautions. And while the sheriff can direct disaster relief forces in Dade County, he has no legal right to issue orders to any of the 12 South Florida Civil Defense directors. As Deputy State Director, Sheriff Kelly can, however, advise these officials if he can communicate with them.
Our emergency radio communications in the last storm were decidedly unsatisfactory. There hasn't been too much improvement in this because we still, while we have telephones at work, a telephone is not an emergency piece of equipment. When the wires are down and when we have to operate with World War II generators as emergency equipment and having these emergency generators breaking down, we found during the last storm that it took several days to establish communications with even 100 miles away. One of the breakdowns that we had on the telephone communications has been corrected. I have on my desk this telephone, which is a direct line to the long-distance operator. There'll be no further delays because of citizens using the telephones, to which they're entitled to advise their friends and relatives in the North that they're safe. In Dade County, we have the finest possible equipment that you can secure. However, it's rather ludicrous for us to have equipment here when we can't communicate with other counties. It was necessary for me to get aboard a helicopter to go to Fort Myers. There was a 25-mile headwind, and we were making 60 miles an hour in this helicopter, which meant a net of 30 miles an hour. We had to set down on out on the trail at filling stations to get gas, to get over to Fort Myers to find out what was going on. The same thing was applicable to the Keys. There was devastation, but still we had nothing but rumors, and all kinds of rumors. If you listen to these rumors, you can't make any kind of a command decision. And now, if we could possibly wake up some of the county commissioners to give their directors the equipment to receive so that they could send out messages to us, give us the facts, let us know what is the loss of life, what do you need. But until someone wakes up, we're not going to have it.
If Donna or a military invader assaulted South Florida tomorrow, each county would stand by itself to survive or die according to the ability and resources of its own officials. WCKT newsman Roger Burnham picked up Donna's trail in the Florida Keys in the person of Monroe County Sheriff John Spotswood, last year's Civil Defense Director. They talked about the lessons learned the night Donna struck.
Sheriff Spotswood, do you remember Donna? Yes, Roger, I certainly do. You were Civil Defense Director as well as being Sheriff when Donna struck the Keys. Did you find that was beneficial, being both?
Oh, yes. Being the Director of Civil Defense and the Sheriff of the county made it much easier to do the job as Civil Defense Director. It gave what small civil defense organization we had the color of law.
How about communication? Was there adequate communication during this time?
We had good communication, but it could have been a whole lot better had we had proper emergency power generators.
How about, well, is that going to be taken care of in case another...
We're working on that now.
Here? You are working on it?
We're working on that now, yes.
I understand the military came in to help you people. How did they help?
Yes, we called on the United States Navy and the Marine Corps, and they came up here immediately after the hurricane, and they assisted in every detail. They were very, very helpful. They had about 400 men here at one time.
They use helicopters to shuffle your deputies around here in the area?
Well, they not only used the helicopters to help us place our personnel, but they had helicopters with a doctor assigned on each one. It made it possible for us to make a very quick survey of the county the very next morning after the storm.
You've seen now what Donna has done and what the people of the Keys have done to rebuild. If there was one thing that you could tell people, what would that be to look out for another hurricane? How could they be better prepared?
Well, I think that an educational program should be instituted to take care of the new people that move in. The Keys are growing very fast, and those who come in have not had the benefit, nor the experience, nor the opportunity to be educated by their fathers and their grandfathers before them, like we who have been born here have had that opportunity.
Do you feel that this would be a significant factor in alleviating some of the destruction and some of the hardship that were borne on these people by this hurricane?
I think it would help out greatly.
Now, what did you people do right after the hurricane, immediately after?
Well, the hurricane came during the darkness, and immediately that morning, after the wind subsided enough to go up the Keys, I went by helicopter, but my assistant, Lieutenant Rennie Rayo, went up by car. So how about letting him answer that?
Lieutenant, want to come right in here? What was your first duty, Lieutenant, when you got up here into this area?
Well, during the night while the hurricane itself was hitting this area, we were making plans with the Navy to start a convoy north into this area. And I think the best way I could describe what it appeared to me like, appeared as though someone had zeroed in an artillery barrage starting from the north end of 7 Mile Bridge on up.
It was a year ago that Donna embraced the Middle Keys, but the memory lingers on. 4 deaths taught the people that survival means evacuation. But you can't evacuate buildings, and that's where the hard lesson learned is overcoming old political influences that governed building inspections in the past. Old political empires are crumbling. Building inspectors insist upon compliance with codes. There is a new building code. There will be a new electrical code. And officials are considering a plan to make trailers hurricane-proof. WCKT newsman Wilson Griffith and Roger Burnham experienced the warmth of Marathon Reborn as they talked to businessmen and leaders. Burnham spoke first with the president of the Marathon Chamber of Commerce. His name, Ralph Cunningham.
There's something like $13 million that has been furnished by the Small Business Administration out of Washington to put the businessman and homeowner under the Emergency Act back into business.
Now let me ask you this. The people that were here during Hurricane Donna, say the businessmen, when they came back and they saw this tremendous loss, did they just pack up and go away, or are they still in Marathon today?
No, far from it. I would say maybe 1% of the business people left, and those were going to leave anyway. The storm actually didn't drive any of them out. All of them rebuilt, most all the residents rebuilt. And the houses and businesses seem bigger and better than ever.
What lesson have you people learned on this matter, on hurricanes?
Well, it aided in getting in our building codes, in the zoning laws. All of these have been enacted by the legislature but hadn't been enforced yet. And we do have excellent building code now that all the people in rebuilding had to follow. We've got building inspectors and a code following Dade County Code.
Then would you say that if another hurricane with the devastating force of Donna came into the Keys, you would be better prepared than you were last time?
Roger, would be better prepared, yes, but it's questionable if anything can withstand winds in excess of some 220 miles an hour.
Mr. Art Stirrett, as mayor of Key Colony Beach, do you remember Donna?
Yes, I remember her very well. I think it'll be a very long time before we forget Donna.
Why?
Well, I think Donna left quite an impression here with us in the city of Key Colony Beach, and I might also add that Donna taught us many, many things. That is, as far as our building and the way our building should be constructed and how we're going to be built. We'll never forget her, and we've certainly improved on her since she's left us.
What do you think of the new building code?
Well, the new building code that we've enforced since Donna is going to help us tremendously now and also in the future. We have many, many builders coming in now, and they are most happy to see that we are enforcing the building code both for their benefit and our benefit.
Mr. Ashton, do you remember Donna?
We remember Donna vividly. On the last warning, we left and returned about 5 days later to survey the destruction. It was pretty complete. But we all got busy and started to rebuild. Thanks to the Navy, the Coast Guard, Marines, National Guard, and the Red Cross, which was very helpful in regards to food, clothes, housing, medicines. We don't know what we would have done without them.
How much did you lose? What did you lose?
We lost docks, we lost boats, motors, merchandise, trailer houses. In fact, the loss was pretty severe as far as ourselves was personally concerned.
How long did it take you to get back into business?
It took us a little over 3 months before we was first able to do any business.
What did you do for money to rebuild?
Money we got from the Small Business Administration, which is a federal concern. They survey you and loan you money on interest at 3% over a period of time, long range, which takes care of your business. But it was the Red Cross that took care of our ordinary needs, such as mortgages, food, clothing, and various other incidentals.
Do you think Marathon is growing better because of Hurricane Donna?
It definitely is growing better.
Bob Stock, do you remember Donna?
Oh, I certainly do. I spent the night with her down here.
Where did she come from?
Came down from the west, right across from here.
Right out of the Gulf, the bay.
Well, that's right, and stayed here for about 6-7 hours.
What did she do?
Well, she probably destroyed everything down here, ripped everything apart.
Well, what did she do to your place?
Well, the cottages were wiped out. The main building wasn't hit too hard. It stood very well, but the cottages, they all got wiped out.
Now, why did you rebuild? Why didn't you just get out?
Why we rebuild? Yeah. Well, we had reservations. We were booked up for the Christmas holidays.
Then you have faith in the area.
That's right, and I didn't want to refuse the reservation.
Those cottages that were destroyed, you rebuilt them. Are they built better now?
Well, we built them by Miami code like we'd done before. Our cottages were very well built beforehand, before the hurricane struck. The only destruction we had, the roofs didn't go on our cottages because they were very well built. The only damage we had on the inside. The windows went out, and the doors went out, and the furniture went out. But the structure of the buildings, they withstood the wind.
You think the building code is important then?
Oh, it is. Certainly is. If everybody built something like that, we wouldn't have the bigger losses down here.
To non-Floridians and newcomers, hurricanes are probably the most overrated feature of Florida. To those of us who a year ago spent 3 sleepless nights covering the vicious storm, the hurricane is Florida's most underestimated problem. That ill wind that slashed Florida taught not only Floridians, but those raked earlier this week by Carla, that hurricane preparation is not nonsense. Donna resulted in our taking stock of communications and shelter facilities, an examination of building codes, and the testing of new hurricane tracking methods, including the launching of the Tyros weather satellite. What did we learn from Donna? That the safest area on the Atlantic coast is Miami because of our building code, that our greatest danger is public apathy. Donna destroyed more than 55,000 homes, 17,000 additional structures, and 1,900 boats. More than 69,000 families suffered personal, if not physical, loss, to an estimated cost of several $100 million.
That's about it for this edition of Rewind, but before we go, you may have noticed that Do You Remember Donna came to a pretty abrupt end. Not all of the shows that have come down to us are complete. Some are missing scenes or whole segments, but all of these shows, even incomplete ones, offer us a fascinating glimpse of Florida's history. They're well worth a look. Rewind features historic film and video from the Lynn and Lewis Wolfson II Florida Moving Image Archives. To see more from the Wolfson Archives collections, visit our website, wolfsonarchives.org. You can search the Archives catalog, watch video online, and connect to our YouTube channel where you'll find hundreds of carefully curated clips. Or link to the Wolfson Archives Facebook page to keep up with our busy calendar of historical happenings. Until next time, I'm Kevin Wynn. Thanks for watching.